Hello, we're back with another podcast episode. Finally, feels like it's been a
We're
year.
back. It's been almost that, I would have thought.
It's been so long.
It's only been a few months, maybe a month, 2 months. But yeah,
But yeah,
a lot has happened in those months. We have shows, we have games, we have
me not being insane.
half-eaten packets of Cheetos.
Why'd you have a half-eaten packet of Cheeto, bro? Why?
just just around.
Yeah, we're live. We're back. Podcast's here. It's
I'm
here.
just getting myself into the chats of everything.
Oh, well, yeah. We only have really two topics today, and that topic one is probably Jack's going on about the boys. Topic two is just gaming in general. Let's be honest at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the main thing about the boys is that the fifth season is back. I've been enjoying it. Especially after what ended up being a lackluster mid-season um, companion series of Generation V. It kind of didn't really matter. I mean, it brought the story along in the mid-time, but it really missed the point of what the original series was. Um, and the loss of one of their characters due to real life tragedy, I really think they underdid it. Um, but yeah, no, season five has been hilarious, including episode five of season five, which is the one that's just come out, being the supernatural reunion.
Oh yeah.
Jensen Ackles, Jared Papadakis, I can never pronounce his name, um,
Padalecki.
and me, is it Analaki? Pakaranlaki?
Padalecki.
Hanalaki, okay. Pad-
Padalecki. PAD.
whatever, whatever. And Misha Collins.
I love Misha. Misha's
Very, very
hilarious.
funny. Very funny. Um, I mean, for Supernatural fans, it's going to be quite amusing. The interaction between the guys is very fun. In particular, the surprised look on Misha Collins' face when Jensen Ackles just snaps his neck is hilarious.
We knew they were going to do it.
Oh, I mean, it was brutal. I mean, the boys is always brutal, but you can tell that they had fun on this one.
But true. But, well, yeah. It is, in all seriousness, it is. It's just a show I've not got around to watching, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, completely understand. And it's not a show for everyone. This particular episode was set up as a series of one shots following one character um, for a short period of time, just to see what went on during the course of one day. Many big things happened, so I'm not going to mention spoilers too much about big story elements. But possibly my favourite was following the day of uh, Butcher's dog Terror. This is a character that we haven't seen much within the TV show,
Mm-hmm.
but quite a big character, appears a lot in the comic books. Um, and it was just funny. Him constantly sexually abusing a Homelander doll. It's his new favourite um, plaything, shall we say. Uh, was
It's a weird one.
hilarious. And Anthony Starr as well. Just
Well, yeah, he's
he's
good.
playing the character so well of Homelander. Just slowly breaking down into complete and utter craziness.
But yeah, today's title of the episode is Gaming. Is it woke? The answer is always fucking yes. That's not even a joke.
Oh, that's what everyone's saying.
I know. Well, yeah, that's what they say until unfortunately the game is not until until the game does well. Then it's not woke because conveniently, if it does well, it can't be woke. And like
No, because if it goes woke, it's broke.
exactly, but yeah,
Everyone knows that. Everyone.
but yeah, The Boys is an interesting show. I've just never got around to watching it. What I have watched is Invincible up to season 3, and I haven't started the last season.
Yeah, very much in the same wheelhouse as Invincible.
I enjoyed
I
Invincible.
hadn't. I mean, I had read the comic books. I hadn't realised how old the comic books were. Actually, they're
Ah,
coming up to 20 years old. So
my
it's
fault
quite
then.
interesting. Yeah, I actually thought they only came out a few years before the series was made, but no.
No,
Uh,
you'd be surprised at how old a lot of the things that are suddenly getting made into like shows and stuff are. It's really surprising
yeah,
how old
it's
a lot of them
just.
are.
But normally with things like that, I was usually quite. If I'm not reading them, I know about them.
Yeah.
But quite recently, I was just watching a thing about it, and they were saying how uh, the that they were planning on making a film, and I can't remember who the director was, but he'd just come off the success of one film, and I was like, that was like 2 decades ago. How could he be making a film about the boys after like? I'm sure he made films in between then, and I was like, oh, actually, wait a minute, no, it was very possible that they could have been making a film off of the first two books, actually, first two volumes.
Oh yeah. He's probably making loads of money off of the boy. The guy who made loads of money off the boys. Let's be honest.
Oh yes, I mean, especially since the show came out, people are buying those books left, right, and centre, especially on Amazon, off on Kindle. So like the digital sales have got to be going through the roof.
Oh yeah. But I've never watched it. I have. It's one of those shows that I just don't really. It's one of those shows that's not really ever interested me. But I think it's because, yeah, cool. Uh, Coolness factor of superheroes all being, like seeing a realistic superhero world, if you get what I mean, in the sense of, you know, this is the collateral damage that will fucking happen with superheroes if they existed. Of probably a lot of them are actually just are not as like in Marvel or DC where they're all noble, bright, and you know what I mean. Like they're all very much
Yeah,
like actually heroes, even in their private life. A lot of these heroes probably just doing it would not be heroes in
well, I
heroes
mean,
outside of being a hero.
th-
But also, it's because they're all
uh,
corporate sponsored heroes as well. We're all corporate heroes made by
yes,
Vought.
yes, that's exactly the thing. They are all they're all made by a company, and it means they're intellectual property, which is quite an interesting take. But there is weirdly enough, there was a one of the last episodes of the Harley Quinn animated series did a takeoff of the one of the more famous issues in the comic books and one of the more well-known episodes of the TV show called Herogasm. Um,
Ah,
in which
yes.
is basically just a big orgy party for the heroes.
Yeah, the guy with the snake
In
penis.
Harley in the Harley Quinn's TV series, they actually sort of did that for the villains, and it was very very funny.
Look, the villains are going to
But
let
in
us see him somehow.
weirdly enough, what was his name? I'm just trying to work it out now.
But
Snowflame. That's it. The DC villain Snowflame makes um, an appearance in a couple of episodes of the Harley Quinn series, who is famously, and this was in the comic books as well, so it is all canon. He was powered by cocaine. Um, and the more he snorts, the more powerful he gets. Which, in many ways, it should have been straight out of that. Should have been in the boys. It should have been incorporated over somehow.
Oh,
It just seems right.
it does. But he wasn't. He also made. It wasn't. He also made in that time when, let's be honest, most of the people making these comics were fucking high as shit. And
Yes and no. I mean, this is one of those characters that once they all decided that the comic book code of conduct was like that, no one gave a shit about it anymore. They weren't going to self-police. Um, and then this little character came out. It was in the era of the hero team, like Six Pack, which was a superhero that was a superhero team made up of the weirdest motherfuckers. But in particular, their leader, which was called Six Pack, was powered by alcohol. The drunker he got, the stronger he was. And there was another hero in that group called Dog Welder, who would weld dogs to villains. I'm not really sure how that one passed, even without the code of conduct, but still, yeah. My favourite hero amongst that group, whose name I can't remember, he is technically the most powerful of the lot, and he could go up against, some of the bigger villains or heroes of DC if he wanted to. He was that powerful. But part of his power structure was not only was that strong, but he couldn't aim for shit. The harder he tried to aim and hit a character, someone else or hit the spot, the less accurate he become. Finally being killed when he tried so hard to save someone and hit the target that he trips over and puts his hands to his head as he's falling over. Loses his brains. Genius.
oh yeah,
But yeah, other than that, I mean, we've had Daredevil, which we're not going to talk about too much because it'll be. I know you're going to watch it at some point.
I've got to sit and watch it probably this weekend. I've just been so fucking. I've been so busy with shit. Like I have been
Yeah,
busy as
completely
fuck
understandable.
with shit. I've not been able to get around to watching it at the minute. So I've just been so busy with work and everything. I've not had much time to myself, to be honest. So I think
But hands down, so much better than previous series. It's unbelievable.
I enjoyed the
Um,
previous series, so if it's better than that, then it's already fucking gonna be great. And besides, as
oh,
far
it
I'm
is.
just happy Jessica Jones shows up, and I'm like, yay!
Well, yes, her. I mean, so yeah, she appears in it. She actually appeared in the last episode, um, and the way that she appears is very funny and very accurate, very good and accurate to the character, especially after what we know of what happened. If it does follow her story on from her Netflix show,
Yeah.
they've not messed anything up with that. Um,
I still want
and yeah,
I still want Luke Cage back though.
well, there has been promotional footage shown that has the full Defenders team together. We haven't had that yet in the series,
I don't really
but we
want the
know
guy
that
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 played
is
Danny
coming.
Rand back though. I'm not gonna
I
not gonna lie.
completely understand.
Like
I no, neither do I.
the guy was just I don't think I just he was not the good fit for that. Like
No,
anyone who was complaining that going, oh, that's racist. Why not cast an Asian person as the Iron Fist? I'm sat there going, the first Iron Fist is a white Caucasian. It's the second Iron Fist who is the Asian dude, and I'm pretty sure that if they were going to bring Danny Rand back because of unfortunately how unlike the actor that played Danny Rand is, not because he's done anything, it's just because he was a really bad fit for that character.
really bad fit. They played it wrong. There was so much. I mean, this was coming towards the end of Netflix owning being able to do anything with those properties. Uh,
I'm still surprised we
and I
got
know a
what
lot.
is it? Is it 4 seasons of Daredevil out of them?
Yes. Um, along with multiple seasons of other things. I liked everything that came out of out of that era except for Iron Fist. It was just, I mean,
He worked
even
fine in Defenders, like because he wasn't the
yeah,
main focus. He he was the side, like because he was part of the team, but he didn't work too well. I'm going to be honest. The one who played Colleen Wing, his sidekick, and the
yes,
stole every scene she was in. This is him.
yeah. He just seemed to have no stage presence whatsoever throughout the entire run of all of it,
No,
which was quite funny
because it's Danny Rand.
in
He's
many
not.
ways.
He's Danny Rand is not. Is not actually a. He's not. It's supposed to be this big, large than life dude. It's the reason why he struggled with the Iron Fist originally is because he is the whole like. He's not like the second Iron Fist, who was basically somewhat, if I remember correctly, trained from birth versus him. That's why
Yeah,
he's.
no,
It's why it's where his
I mean,
complication comes from is that Danny was not good with the fist at the start. It took him a while to finally figure it out.
if I remember correctly, there's a line in Defenders where it's very much from the Batman stuff, where it's like, "Oh, that isn't my superpower. My superpower is that I'm rich," and that's when he goes into buy the company, like do something to the company when he realizes it's the hand that's involved in the event
Yeah,
within that story run.
like that's why Danny is not the best Iron Fist. Best Iron Fist is I can't remember the name of the second one. Was that because there's quite a few Iron Fists.
Yeah, I can't know. He was never my favorite character in general. So
That's what I mean. He's not one of the characters that I've really read that much of. I've read some of his books, not all of them. But we'll do topic two. We'll go on to topic two, which is basically our only other topic for today. Is the gaming industry, and I need to have a rant because if I don't have a rant, it's going to be ranting day. It's going to be
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I will start off then with some good news before you go off on your rant.
Oh.
So I'm an Xbox player. I have Xbox Live, and I ended up paying for the most expensive version of it.
Yeah.
I like getting my games early, and because at the end of it, it's always been profitable for me. Because most of the times I want to play a game early, it ends up not being the sort of game I want to keep. But instead of spending £60 to £80 on a game, or 2 or 3 games, I get to play them for a couple of hours each, and then you basically never have to play them again.
Yeah.
Wonderful. The amount of money I've actually saved has been in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Multiple hundreds.
So,
Um,
what I was going to say is, the good news you're on about is one of the things that I'm actually happy about of Microsoft lowering the price, and then I think you lowering the price for what I think a lot of. I'll let you tell what it is that they removed, but the thing they removed
so this
for
is
a
it.
lot of people is thanks for the price decrease. I never played that anyway.
Yeah, so I got it because of many other games. I do not play Call of Duty, but because you don't get Call of Duty now on a day one release, you won't get it for a whole year
Yeah.
after until it's been out. They've reduced the price quite a bit.
Yep.
Um,
Due to the deals with
I,
PlayStation, and also this was the first year that Call of Duty has made a loss on sales rather than making sales because no one bought it. Why buy it when I have Game Pass?
exactly,
Because you can get it
exactly.
on PC as well because of Game Pass Ultimate on PC came with the PC version of it on the Windows Store. So
Yeah,
and yes, there's a whole big movement with Steam and people that love Steam. We love it, and we'll refuse to use the app stores. But when it comes to Microsoft stuff, I'm happy to have the Windows Store and the the Microsoft Store installed. And play stuff on there
oh,
when I
yeah,
have Game Pass because why would I not? It's quick, it's easy. That's why I have That's why I had Starfield on.
exactly. So I mean, it's very funny that that has been the thing that's pushed the price down, and yet you know it can't. I imagine it must have been a large group of people that was getting it especially for that. I
Salutations,
can easily see that.
YouTube viewer on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. I just checked the YouTube chat as well. But yeah, it
I
is.
shall say hello.
Oh, it was Katie that said salutations. Katie Candy said that. Who has helped us? Who will be in a couple of our videos coming up as well, because they have helped us record some videos while Jax was away for a while. Jax has been away for a while. He's been going insane. That's,
Yes, slowly insane.
yeah, we just let him out we've let him out of the hospital today to join us again. We have to put him back afterwards, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get locked away like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, he's only allowed out to help with this podcast. After that, yeah, he gets locked back up again for another 4 weeks. But gaming itself is this. This isn't just my observation. This is observation of this because I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and stuff. And I was watching some stuff about that, and then I was looking at like the actual reviews and stuff that the anti-woke people put and the stuff they say, and then I just started to realize, like, yeah, I was like, it's not my opinion first, but it's like, I was one of the people I was watching was saying this, and I was like, and then I was looking at reviews and going, wait, actually they're right, they actually are right, and this is what it is, and it's like them going, gaming's woke, and I'm sat there going, any game they seem to pick, usually the main character or the focal characters don't represent them, the people calling it woke.
Mm-hmm.
They represent other people, and like, it's really fucking weird. It's like, and it's like a common thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is true. It is kind of actually true that they keep going, oh, it's gaming's woke, and I'm like, no, and they're like, it's woke, and I'm sat there going, it's only woke. The only reason you're calling it woke is because you're not represented by the main character. Someone else is, and you're getting mad about that. And I'm just like, it's funny, but the current state of the gaming industry is also annoying me because, but also when they say go woke, go broke, they don't seem to understand publishers, gaming, the people that pour the money into games wouldn't greenlight the games with like more representation and stuff if it didn't make them money.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. Virtue signaling for corporations does not exist because corporations wouldn't do that if it wasn't going to make them money. Corporations are capitalist. The only thing they care about is, can they get your money. Also, whenever I hear the word
100%.
modern audience, I'm sat there going, "What's the fuck's the modern audience?"
Yeah, I mean, although there is an element of, I do find it funny when people say, "Oh, this or that about video games," because I don't see because I'll only play this game or that game, or I want this kind of representation or that kind of representation because it represents me, and I'm sitting there thinking, most of you sit there at home in a sweaty gaming chair with your pants undone and a can of Monster in your hand, scratching your ass, and there's not many games that represent that.
But I feel so
You're
seen.
sitting there, playing a super soldier and someone driving a mech. It is all about immersion in a different situation, role playing.
It's a
Um,
it's a fantasy, and it's a fantasy. Always will be.
yeah,
It's like the complaints with the new Fable stuff. Where you go, oh, the main character, when they put in the trailer, she looks ugly. This game's going to go woke. It's failing, and it's going to fail. And I'm sat there going, it's an RPG where you can make your own character.
okay.
Like,
Have you ever played a Fable game? You're in a place and time in a weird little universe where
it's
no one
based.
is particularly good looking.
It's also, unfortunately, it's a place and time where it's essentially England during the Middle Ages. And to be fair,
Yeah,
we were pretty disgusting people.
yeah. You're sitting there stuffing down meat pies and
hmm
hoping the water doesn't give you dysentery.
Exactly.
I mean,
Um,
very, very funny.
it was just funny. It's like, to me, but I'm like, they go, and then when they go, when the people go, gaming's a visual medium. We need things that are visual. I'm sat there going, one of the most popular games of all time. That is, I think, I don't know if any game's ever as that. It's iconic. It's iconic. It's timeless, and anyone in the world, everyone in the world has. Everyone in the world, I think, any game in the world who's plays games, has played this game at least once or at some point in their life. That game is Tetris.
Yeah.
And Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tetris and Pac-Man are two of the most iconic, in my opinion. They're more iconic than like Mario, Sonic, and stuff because they are games that are literally the beginning of the gaming industry. That are
Yeah.
like.
And if any of those two things represent you, you need to see a doctor.
I know, right? like, like some of the best games, some of the most like popular games are games that aren't like graphically or aesthetically pleasing. Like a lot of indie games become like really popular. Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah.
is a beautiful game, right? Right, it's a wonderfully beautiful game. It won Game of the Year rightly, and I love Baldur's Gate 3 for that. Because Baldur's Gate 3 is one of my favorite games in that of like that year. But it is absolutely hilarious that Baldur's Gate 3 is quite literally the um like it is visually quite nice, but it's not like um it's not, in my opinion, like say Warframe level of graphics that I love playing for every so often.
Yeah.
And also, another thing I would probably go on my high horse and run about is free to play games pit like the way most is battle passes piss me off to no end, right?
Yeah.
Because they just, in my opinion, eventually cause like a burnout of playing said game. Because you're always
It really,
like,
yeah. I mean, it does depend what the battle pass involves.
well, it's more, it's more
Um,
the battle passes that are like, oh, once this battle pass is gone, you can't get anything from it again.
yeah.
Those ones are the ones I'm on about, not the like Helldivers 2, where it's every battle pass in Helldivers 2 is a war bond. The war bonds can be got. I can go on that game and buy the first war bond, you know what I mean? Like the
Mhm.
first war bond released now if I wanted to. And it's been out for like nearly 2 years now at this point, I believe. I think, if
Yeah.
I'm correct. And that's what I mean. Like their way of doing it is we keep all the war bonds like available permanently. So you're not so you can dip in, dip out, get whatever weapons you want and stuff you want to unlock, as the game goes on. You know what I mean? You don't have
Yeah.
to constantly come back and keep chasing the new one. And then games like Apex, games like Overwatch, games like the other like the I don't know if the Suicide Squad did it, but it probably did. Like the license was where it's basically you need to keep playing, otherwise you're going to miss out on this battle pass because once it's gone, it's gone. And I'm like, I don't like it. I just think it's a dumb thing. I get why it's there. It's to make people keep playing and it's to make people spend money constantly. But if they want to do that, do the way Marvel Rivals has done it, where Marvel Rivals has done a pretty decent way of doing it. Of cool, if I miss it, I don't have access to it anymore. Yeah, but if I was playing the game during the period of say one of the battle passes, and I buy said battle pass, for example, I can always go back and purchase things from that battle pass.
Okay. Okay.
And they occasionally do like a way back thing where they let you buy battle passes that have been already released and like get them for limited times. Like if you missed one, it might show up again later down the line as like here's a second battle pass you can buy this for this month. So that they're basically still giving you the opportunity to unlock some of those battle passes. Which because of that,
Yeah.
I've got the one which has the skin in it at the end, which is House of M Magneto.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have to finish the battle pass, but it means if I play Marvel Rivals, I can play it and contribute towards that battle pass rather than the latest one. You know what I mean? If I don't want the latest one,
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
and it's a thing that I'm like. Also, I'm gonna be flipping honest. Like the other thing that annoys me with these people that go, "Gaming's woke" or "Gaming's getting woke" and all this, and I'm like, I picked this title because this title is clickbait. This title is full well clickbait. I'm not gonna lie. It is a clickbait title, and even I know it's a clickbait title. Me going, is it woke? Because it's, you know, but it's legitimately, it's the thing that about it that um, annoys me when I see them is you see it all the time. They go Crimson Desert, this, all made by Eastern devs, this, Western devs, this, and I'm like, guys, you're trying to say that the Eastern devs don't put politics in their game. The entirety of Final Fantasy is corporations are bad.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you might not understand what their politics is because you don't understand their politics, but I'm telling you, yeah, they do it just as much as anyone else.
I'm sorry, but the entirety of Final Fantasy VII is you're a bunch of eco terrorists taking down taking down a corrupt corporation that's destroying the planet.
The whole thing, the whole thing about Persona is psychological trauma,
Yeah,
in some fashion that you're constantly fighting against,
like
and it is always
Persona
related.
3's whole thing is like Persona 3's thing is how do we get our personas out? We shoot ourselves in the head.
Well, I mean, even then, what I mean, it's like the things they have to go against in the different
Yeah,
sort of universes that you fight in. That is, you know, it's usually some sort of bad thing has happened to said person,
yeah.
and that is the area you're fighting. Be it,
Like Phantom
you
Thief
know,
is the Phantom Thief. Like this is partial spoilers for like the first part of the game. The thing you fight, the thing about the teacher is it's like you're going inside this teacher's mind to get rid of their like it's basically their guilt and all the bad stuff they've done has created this is creating this other world. So all the trauma they've inflicted upon others is creating the bad world basically.
yeah,
And it's like it's in these things. It's like Japanese politics on, but it's the thing is when they go, oh, gaming Western games aren't very subtle. I'm like, Western games are always subtle. They're a lot more subtle than you think because 9 times out of 10 you guys miss the fucking points they're raising to you.
yeah,
The Japanese games that I've played, they don't they don't they don't hold back on those points when they ram them home. They go, yeah, here, they ram it in your face. I'm sorry, well, Metal Gear Solid straight up, Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I forgot about the thing that Armstrong does. This game came out long before 2016. Okay,
yeah.
right? And Armstrong literally says, "Make America great again." In my America, the strong will rule over the weak. And I'm like, why have I heard this? Why have I heard? Why does this all sound familiar? And I'm like, oh dear God, oh yeah, like it's straight up war is a business because war is America's business. It's like you guys do keep missing the points in these games. Japan is very much like pointing out how bad you have it, or how bad like they think of Western civilization. It's like they are constantly pointing out flaws in like policies and shit. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look at Fallout.
mm-hmm.
I mean, its big tagline is "War never changes," and every game you go into, the more you find out the corporate world was crappy.
Yeah, like it is in all instances. It's like Elder Scrolls is a game that's very much Elder Scrolls 5 is very much when you play the Civil War part, and I'm like, and if you side with the Stormcloaks, you've basically doomed Skyrim to get wiped out by the Thalmor. Because
Pretty much.
if you pay attention throughout that entire game, the Empire didn't win the war, they lost. That's why they have the the condition of you cannot worship Talos anymore. That's why the Thalmor elves invoked it on it. That wasn't like a peace treaty of both sides drew. It was a no. The Imperial City got sacked by the elves. The elves won thoroughly and kicked the crap out of the Empire. The Empire's banning of Talos wasn't because we don't believe he's a god. It's because we're doing this so that we don't basically get the elves don't just take us out. This is the condition for the elves letting us keep our sovereignty. That's basically was the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, cool. Yeah, side with the Stormcloaks. Let Talos be worshipped again. Cool. Skyrim is a tiny province. If an empire made up of Hammerfell, Elsweyr, Cyrodiil, Daggerfall, and Skyrim lost to the Somerset Isles, I'm pretty sure Skyrim's fucked. If it succeeds from the Empire. Because the Empire won't get involved at that point. They'll just let it happen. But also Elder Scrolls is one of those games that I love Elder Scrolls games for the sheer fact of we all love them for the glitches. We love we love Elder Scrolls for the glitches. They are beautiful. The glitches in Elder Scrolls are what make those games. There's so much so that because Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster is on Unreal 5 and not the Bethesda engine, right? They had to physically recreate some of the glitches in the game as features because they knew if they take certain ones out, people would get really angry at them. They're
Yeah.
not, and it's like I like that they did this. We took some time to recreate certain things. They couldn't recreate those. They created a new duplication glitch because the old one didn't work. But the thing is, they don't patch this stuff out because they don't want why. It's a single player game. It's what annoys me is when people go, "Oh, what I do find funny is I am by no means pro gamer, amazing, absolutely wonderfully unstoppable at any like game, right? Right? I can play Dark Souls because Dark Souls is just pattern recognition, and once you start recognizing the boss patterns, and the enemy patterns, you basically just learn how to dodge or block them repeatedly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same with when I played Code Vein. That was the same sort of thing with all the boss fights in Code Vein. It was just learning to learn the pattern, dodge the pattern. But it's the thing in those. But right, I can't remember what game. Oh yeah, I do remember what game it was. But there is. I don't get when people complain that a game can complain that a game is bad just because the game is too hard. When the reason it's too hard is not to do with because the game is like too difficult or not because
Yeah.
the game's broken or something. It's too hard because they haven't learned the skills that they need to learn by like a late game point. And I'm like, if I beat this boss, I'm crap at most games. The only reason I'm good at single player games is I play them on normal first and play them on hard or the hardest difficulty second. I play on normal to get the story from the game. I play on hard when I want to play the game for a challenge and stuff. But my main issue with a lot of games difficulty is, I think you probably know, is that when some game for difficulty in some games, it's not about how it's not suddenly, oh yeah, the enemies get new abilities and stuff. It's we're just gonna double the enemy's health. So now instead of needing like say, like to kill a big enemy, you need like a whole clip to kill it. It's now you need two whole clips. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I don't find, or now the player has less health, and I'm like, don't do this. Just literally the best way I found is like, good game, Species Unknown has certain behaviors behind the like enemies only trigger on higher difficulties. So
Yeah.
on lower like there's an enemy there that unless there's two players in the same room as it, will attack. Right? It won't attack if you're together. So it's kind of like it's like the enemy that encourages the team to stick close, or in pairs of two. Yeah. But on on harder above, it has like a 5% chance every 10 seconds to just suddenly trigger like a berserk mode where it'll start sparking out for a second, and then it'll go on the offensive and try to kill you, even if you're like in a group. The
Yeah.
thing is, it's an instant kill when it's in the current mode. It's an instant kill because it's no more of a horror game. You're not meant to be fighting these things. You're meant to be doing the mission, then getting out as quick as you can. But when it triggers that mode, it becomes a run point, even if you're in a team. So it kind of splits the party a little bit because you have to kind of panic and try and lose it.
Yeah.
But that's not it. That doesn't happen on normal. Normal, you can kind of just ignore this thing unless you get it into its second stage where it attacks all the time but doesn't instant kill. But like that is a mechanic perfectly suited to that. Why I like it, because it's less about making enemies harder via just like making enemies harder by just like by what's the word, making enemies harder by like just adjusting the health and making them harder to kill. And it's more giving enemies new tactics is more fun because then as you get to higher difficulties, you still got the same hit roll, same like amount of damage to do to someone, but now you've got to learn to avoid new abilities that you've never seen before. So you're getting new patterns you're having to recognize and stuff. You know what I mean? That you miss on the first run through,
Completely.
that you don't get on the first run through. And I infinitely think that's a better way of doing harder difficulty. Um, like, but yeah, the thing about for a minute with the anti-woke stuff is makes me laugh because the minute a game becomes successful, it's suddenly no longer woke. Like, that's what makes me laugh the most because Baldur's Gate 3 was being decried as a woke game. It's terrible. It's going to flop. It's woke. It's woke. It's going to flop. Comes out, sells so many copies. It becomes game of the year of that year. You know, like it's the most popular game of the year,
Huh?
right? Of that, it was the most popular game that year, and I'm like, and then suddenly the people that were calling it woke shut up, and it's like you can't stand by your convictions. Like you only call a game woke if it fails, if it doesn't, if it is successful. But half the time as well, the games they say go woke, go broke actually are doing fairly okay and doing well. They're not selling like skyrocketing like 4.5 billion copies or like a couple of million copies like in day one or something. But they're still selling decently well, while they're out. And
Yeah.
they might take a while to make their money back, but they tend to make it back. And it's like, guys, I don't think they don't seem to get the games like is it Black Myth Wukong that came out last year?
Yeah, it's a couple of years ago now, but I know. Yeah, yeah,
Like they are exceptions, not the rule. Like it's
yeah.
a really good game. I never played it because it just doesn't interest me. But like games that sell that many copies like really quick, yeah,
Yeah.
like are the exception. There's a reason a lot of games go off players nowadays rather than how many sales because a lot of studios have a subscription based service now where you get a lot of their games on games on day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As we were just talking about with Xbox Live, where they're just taking away Call of Duty from day one. So a lot of people are playing these games like on these subscription services, and those subscription services, the way that they work is that the more people that play the game on it, they pay a fee because that's to these studios that aren't first party titles. They pay a fee to have them on their service, and they have to probably to keep it on their service, they have to probably pay a proportionate fee based on how many people play it, because we don't know the whole contract that goes on behind it. But so those studios get money, but it's also with, for example, the game that my favorite game of 2 years ago, Dragon Age Veilguard. I love that game. I'm actually thinking of replaying it and doing another playthrough on it, again. But like for example, that game which had a massive hate campaign come out immediately, and the weirdest thing is the hate campaign. The more I look back at it, is it's because they've added pronouns and they've added top scars and this and that. And it's like, and they're complaining it's a magic universe. Why would top scars be a thing or this? And I'm like, did you guys ever complain about these in these same magical universes, like your character being able to have a scar across their eye or a scar across their face, or why is an option that you don't have to use suddenly a problem? or
Well, yeah,
or why is it's like I've seen them call games woke for having optional like gay romances in them. Um, one of my favorite group I love to frequent and have a look at and laugh at is the woke content detector. I think I've sent you pictures from what they've called games, and there's like they literally
yes,
called a game woke because it says optional gay romance. I'm like,
yeah. The optional part there is the big thing.
yeah, it's like, but it's not just that. It's hilarity to me because it's like, guys, you're going out of your way to do the thing that you consider woke, so you can complain about it, and I'm just sat there going, um, you know, like, you know what I mean? I'm just sat there going, make it make sense, because if you don't want to see this stuff, you kind of can just avoid it. You have to make those choices to get those scenes. Therefore,
Yeah.
how is those scenes existing in a game the problem? and it's like it's pushing an agenda because it's trying to force it. And I'm like, no. You just don't like the fact that the game also represents people that don't aren't you. And honestly, I'm starting to realize, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, Emma Thorne, wonderful YouTuber. I will probably put a link in the description of this VOD on YouTube. Go watch her; she's brilliant. She makes me laugh. Like was going on, was looking at it, and it's like, and it feels like I'm not going to use the word narcissist because a narcissist is like it's a psychiatrical term. I can't diagnose anyone. I'm not a psychiatrist, but it
Mhm.
does feel like they're a bit like that. Going, the game doesn't represent me, therefore it's shit. It's all about me, and I'm like, okay, because I play games where the main character isn't me, and I don't care.
Well, yeah.
I'm not some big bulging dude with fucking muscles, and I don't run around with a machine gun with a chainsaw on the end of it like Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War. But I still loved Gears of War. I'm not a 7 foot tall super soldier in power armor, and I still love the Halo series. And
100%.
Tomb Raider is my all-time favorite series, always has been, and I love the new Tomb Raiders more than I like the originals. And I think, as we both discussed, I am ecstatic that we're getting waiting for Legends of Atlantis and the other new Tomb Raider game that's coming out after it. Because I am excited to see where the franchise goes, because I love that franchise. Like, it's phenomenal. It's one of those franchises that I absolutely adore. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, and Metroid. I feel that if Metroid wasn't a thing, wasn't a series that came out in like the 90s and something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a new Metroid game. Like, Metroid was this new series came out, and the ending was the same as the original, where Samus takes off the suit and it's finally revealed that Samus is a woman, not a man.
Yeah.
They would call that game woke the minute it's revealed. The minute someone's finished it and reveals that at the end.
Well, I mean, to an extent, I mean, there wasn't that term back in the day, but yeah, that was kind
No,
of how
no, I mean,
some people reacted to that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's like, well, that term back then is what it meant. Is what I use it as when I say it. It's being aware of social injustice and, the way society treats certain other people. That's the way I use that word, because I refuse to let the idiots, use it. The thing is, when idiots try and use it and call me woke, I just take it as a compliment. I'm like, cool. So I'm aware of the way the world is, and I'm actually aware of the fact the world isn't the best for everyone. I don't get how you think that's an insult. I don't understand. But it's like, that term was coined, by the way, back a long time ago by black people. That's where it comes from. It's a term that.
Well, it's one that really only started getting used heavily in the mid 2000s. I remember when I first started hearing it, because I there was a particular show that I watched called the Larry Wilmore Show. I was a big fan of Larry Wilmore from his work on The Daily Show. And around about the second series so Larry Wilmore Show was a show around African American comedians talking about the crap that goes on in the world. And around about the second season, all of a sudden that word was being used a lot. It
was used since the 1930s, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
but the thing is,
when a term is coined and when a term is used in mass populace,
yeah, it's when it's co-opted when it's used by more than the people that originally used it. Because originally it was, in the early 20th century, it was just used by predominantly black communities and that, and it's become more used by everyone these days. A bit like from the early, was it the 2000s or the 90s, basically. From that was when it started becoming more widely used and more widely known for people.
Yeah, but it's not something that was used on TV. This is so, in the media terms, it was still very much a insular thing amongst a small group within that community itself. So I mean, maybe in the 90s it become more popular within the community. but it wasn't something that was being used en masse to the point where you would hear it in TV shows or on talk shows or on things like that until the mid to late 2000s.
No, but the thing is with it, it's a term that I find funny. It's why it's the title of this episode. Is it woke? Gaming, is it woke? I'm not gonna not laugh at the fact that I put that as the title of this episode because it makes me laugh.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the way it kind of to an extent should be.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it, isn't it? It's like it's gaming for me is it's my pastime. I play it to just enjoy my life, and I don't go into games at all with this whole thing of is the main character look interesting. I go into games with the concept of the plot. Like Pragmata, for example, I am trying not to buy that right now. I really want it. I'm not gonna lie, I want it. It looks so fun, but it looks fun to me because, in my opinion, it's Capcom doing being the one AAA studio, by the way, and this is not necessarily true, but it's the one AAA studio that feels like they're still willing to experiment and, you know, do stuff like you know what I mean, like do really weird games that other main studios would not do, if you know what I mean. Like they're still
Yeah.
willing to experiment, and it's like I want it because in my opinion, I'm sorry, but it looks fun, and also Capcom being willing to still experiment with games is, to me, is like a massive plus. The only issue I have with it is the price, and that is the only thing I will say. But that's my price. That's my issue with current, with pricing of a lot of new AAA games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I don't. So I buy them on sale, but legitimately, Pragmata just looks fun. Like fun game, and yes, they've used AI generation in the game, but I will give fair play to Capcom for the way they use AI generation in that game, because they literally made an AI bot that works on their resources and stuff. Yeah, right, and it's running the game's official Twitter. The bot is named after is Diana from the game. That's what they did with their AI model. They made it the actual one from the game. The AI art that is in the game is the art that apparently that Diana will present to you, the player. And the funny part is, it was actually generated by an AI named Diana. And I'm like, it's the one exception that, because it's trained on their content, you know what I mean? And it's trained on their content, and it's entirely an in-house one. And I'm like, I can kind of forgive you for using it, but I'm still mad at you for using AI. But I can forgive you a little bit because the way you've used it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's not it's not the best. Like, it's not someone that I'd be like, oh yeah, do it in every game. Like, no, please don't do it in every game. Just this is the one game I'm going to give you the exception to doing it. But like, I'll still vehemently, against AI. But I'm like, I'm giving them past that. But it's like, it looks fun. Like, it looks like my kind of game, like just a third person shoot with like a weird mechanic. And I'm one of those people that liked, what's it called? I think it is Capcom. Binary Domain. Binary Domain, I think it's called. It's a really good Capcom game that was like the. Is the thing that I was. Yeah, Binary Domain. I love Binary Domain. I finished Binary Domain. It's so fucking fun. But it's one of those games that when you get to the end of it, if you know what I mean, it's like a game that's like. You think it's like this fun, just, shooter game. But then in typical, Japanese style, it's like the plot is like. Is, like just basically it's AI rebellion in Tokyo. Has happened. So Tokyo's like become like the world's leading robotics place. Yeah, and the very first cutscene is this dude walking through, an airport security with people pointing guns at him. And you're like, why are they pointing the guns at this dude? He just looks normal. He's got nothing on him. And then he just slowly rips his face off to reveal, the machine face underneath, going, "I'm human," because he's not aware that he was even a robot, and that until he went through the scanner.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what the hell is this? It's like, and then you get to the end, and it's like, oh yeah, your teammate you had with you the entire fucking time. Oh yeah, she's a robot. Now make a choice: side with them or side with humanity. What the fuck? Don't make me do this. Don't make me make choices.
Well, yeah,
I wasn't expecting to
I,
be being asked a question if this new form of life should be allowed to live. It's like, the fuck you, game. I came here for just cool shooting of robots and shit.
but then again, I mean, some of the best storytelling is kind of like that. I mean, some of the great episodes of Star Trek have been, oh, this is just a thing that's a problem. And there's like, well, actually,
The spy,
if
the mole.
either it be the mole thing, or it's the sentient computer programs, or
Yeah.
the microverse stuff.
Just so much.
It all become
so much, just so much like these little stories and these things that are really unique. They're really good. They're like, it's just like, it's like Bioshock. Bioshock is one of those games that you go into Bioshock thinking it's going to be a shooter if you've never played them before, right?
Yeah.
You go into thinking it's going to be like every other shooter that you've ever played. Let's be honest, right?
To an extent.
To an extent, like, oh, it's in a cool setting. Oh, this is pretty cool. This is awesome. This is a cool setting. Everything, and then it hits you with like the little the little sisters thing of, do you harvest them? Do you save them? You know what I mean? Etc. And then it hits you with like the twist in the middle of the game. The middle of the game. This is spoilers. This is a, God, I don't know how many years old Bioshock is now. I think it's like 20 years old at this point. 20-year-old game.
The would you kindly moment, when you work out what would you kindly actually means, is
now, would you
fantastic.
Would you kindly pick up that golf club and beat him over the head? To which your character does in a cutscene after being asked it, and with the guy you're beating in the face to kill going, "A man chooses, a slave obeys," repeatedly as you hit him to death. And then you slowly get to the realization at the end of it, at that bit, when it comes back over the voice of Atlas comes back over the voice and goes in a completely different voice, drops his voice and accent. "There ain't no Atlas, kid. There never was." It's like, oh shit.
I mean, that I've got to say that was one of my favourite games. I played that game so hard when it first came out. I actually bought that game by accident. I don't know if I've fully told you the story before. I was working for Woolworths, and I can't remember what game I was buying. Yeah, I can't remember what game I was buying. It was just as I was leaving for having a week off, and a new game had come out. And how we used to sort our entertainment, I used to hate it because of this reason, because it had happened to me before like this, and I've seen other people make mistakes, is that we would put the proper boxes out on display for the most part, take the discs out and put them in a cardboard sleeve, which scratched the discs up saying rotten, and then have them in a sealed container, a sealed locker. And I got the case off, paid for my game, pulled the sleeve out of the drawer and slammed it into the case and left. And when I opened up the case and put the game in, I'd taken the wrong game out of the drawer and put it into my case. And I was so annoyed. And then I started playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun. I was having a fun time with it. And what originally caught me was you have these wire trap things that you can leave around.
Yeah.
And I came back to an area, and where I'd originally expected there to be a big fight, it wasn't. And I'd set up all these traps everywhere, and I was like, oh, bugger. Anyway, I left, come back, and when I came back, there were so many bodies littered around this area. I'd gone and done other stuff. But in the meantime, the splicers were doing their thing, and I had trashed a load of them, and I was just picking up bits left, right, and centre. Um, and that fascinated me. I was like, well, it shows me this game is actually still alive. When I'm not doing anything in this room, and I'm over in a different area entirely, stuff is still going on in this room. So that kind of fascinated me. And I carried on playing, and following the path you're meant to follow, being told.
The best
And
bit about it is
that
that
point,
you don't realise that you're only doing exactly what you're told. It's like it's such a brilliant
until
way.
that moment,
Yeah, and
and
then
yeah, it was such a brilliant mechanic in making you follow a linear path in a video game to
yeah.
find out that you've been brainwashed the whole time.
But I think the best part
It
is it
blew
literally when he
my
goes, "Would you kindly
mind.
now go get stepped on Big Daddy before you know that bit?" And the instructions on
Yeah,
your screen literally pop up: "Go and get stepped on by Big Daddy." Like, oh god, what the fuck? It's like, oh shit.
yeah,
It's like, and it's like, and
yeah.
it's like, it's such a brilliant way of doing it. It's like, oh, because it's like it breaks it to the player that you are brainwashed. You have been doing everything this man has told you to do the entire game.
And I tell you, I didn't look at another when someone was giving you commands over a radio in a game or
Mm,
somehow like that. I never looked at a game the same way
no,
again.
and the thing
Um,
is, it is such a twist that at the time no one saw that coming in that game. Like
no,
it was a
no,
universal thing that everyone who played Bioshock, like we played it like blind because it was back early internet when the internet wasn't that big and full of spoilers, and we didn't bother looking up stuff in games. And it was that twist made you just go, "Holy shit!"
yeah, and it
It's
was
like,
perfect. And and it was because of that, literally just because of that aspect of it, that I then played that game multiple times over.
yeah.
Um, and then like later on, as soon as the second one come out, I was like, I'm a day one releaser. I need to get that
The
on
only
day one.
the only
And
Bioshock I haven't finished, I haven't played it, and I'll admit this, is Infinite, and that's no fault of Infinite. It's just that um, I just never. It's at the time when it came out. I didn't have a job at the time, so I never bought it. I
yeah,
now own it. I just never because I now own it. I've just never kind of had that to go back to it. If that makes sense.
I mean, I did once again. That was one I did get on day one. It is very different from the others,
Yeah, it's
uh, um,
well,
which is understandable,
it's
but it
different but
isn't.
the same, which is really good. But it does establish the Bioshock formula. Like it is the game that goes.
Yes,
This is the formula. There is always a man. There is always a woman. There is always a city. This is the three
but yeah,
pillars of this franchise.
I mean, especially after the way the second game went,
Yeah.
we were all expecting
Hmm.
us to then either find out what happened to the Big Daddy and Little Sisters that you had been playing, as towards the end, or go down and explore the because by the time you get to the end of the second game, you realise there's so much more of Rapture that you haven't seen. Um, and so many people geared themselves up for that. But when you then get into, you're actually no longer under sea, you're in a sky city this time. Um, and the sort of the zip line transversal, that really did jar people a bit. Um, and everyone was kind of waiting, like, well, when are we, what is the big thing here? And it really wasn't until because there's this whole thing throughout that game as well, is that especially from very early on about a flip of a coin, that there's two sides to every story, two things to look at. And a big part of the mechanic is having these two kind of times
Yeah.
that you can work through. And it wasn't until the DLC, if I remember correctly, and then later updates to the main game itself, where they fully integrated the whole idea of
It's a loop.
what you've been doing the whole time in this game and in the previous games is playing an alternate reality of the first game.
Well, it's
You
not just
know,
it's not just an alternate reality. If you pay attention, right, when you arrive in, so I know the full story of Bioshock Infinite. I've not played it myself, But when it came out, I watched Jesse Cox play at OMFG
Yeah.
Kata because I love his channel. I watched his playthrough because he's one of those few YouTubers that plays through games that I like watching because he's a massive lore nerd. So he'll spend ages finding like the lore stuff and he'll read it
Yeah.
on the fucking thing. He just stops mid video sometimes and starts reading it and he's like, "Yep, I don't mind
Yeah.
this." Like, because that's what you like, and it's like it's because he plays kind of like how I play. But um, when I watched his playthrough, it's the bit when you get to Rapture, and I realize when you get to Rapture, you're in Rapture post Bioshock One, meaning during the Bioshock One era, which means the bathyspheres and all that stuff. At that exact
Yeah.
point, only Andrew Ryan has access to them.
Yeah.
Because he'd DNA locked all of them, which basically means that Booker becomes Comstock or Booker becomes Andrew Ryan. It's like, oh shit. It's like, this is the paradox. It's basically there's always the different ways that Booker basically becomes something different based on different things he does in his life. But and it's like the beautiful way of the ending bit where it's all the Elizabeth from different realities like around him, and then basically drowning Booker because it ends the loop. Because that Booker that you play in that game is the first Booker, the original.
I mean, there's, like I said, a lot of bits did get sort of amended and changed with updates and DLCs.
Oh yeah, but the
Um,
Burial at Sea DLC, I love that the ending of Burial at Sea Part 2 is quite literally handing the the final piece of the baby over to Fontaine and beginning
mhm.
the whole, and this is Bioshock 1. Oh shit, we just set in motion the original. Here's the loop. Elizabeth kills Booker. Elizabeth uses her powers to now travel through time, dies while in Rapture, and as Luteces say, if you ever go back to the place you died, you lose your you basically are stuck there permanently. That's your last life. So when she goes back there, she becomes stuck in Rapture and becomes embroiled in Fontaine's plan to basically take Rapture as Rapture is falling. And
One of my favorite. I remember watching this at the time. I can't remember who did it, but like they played through the entire game. But at the beginning, there's a flip of a coin, and whatever you choose, basically the cage or the raven, um, it kind of makes it sound like that is the first of these grand choices that you get to make, and it will change the way certain things play out. Well, it doesn't. Not for at least not for the original run. But I remember someone getting through to the end. Was like, I want to know what happens when I make that original. What does the bird help you out more, or does this happen if you pick like the raven instead of the bird cage? And I remember them playing it and being adamant that things had changed in their playthrough, only to later find out through actually the devs was like, it's a meaningless choice. No matter what happens, it's all the same. How you play the game is how it changes.
yeah,
That thing at the beginning changes nothing.
it's like the game Atomic Heart that I need to go through and play through get all the DLCs and play through it. Because of the trailers and stuff, originally that game, a lot of the market, a lot of the places I saw that was hyping that game, didn't hype it up to be Bioshock. Playing the beginning of it,
Yeah,
now I know it's now a Bioshock style game, which going into it, I now
yeah,
have my expectations, tethered to that's the style game. It's a linear single player Bioshock style game where occasionally I'll go back to places I've already been to get, because I couldn't go through a certain area, like it's a bit Metroidvania style. But
yeah,
the way a lot of the places were describing it and thinking about it originally was it's a Fallout style game, so I was expecting Fallout open world, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Open world
yeah,
traversing. And so when I first went to it, I had the worst expectations. So I gave up playing that game about 2 hours about 3 hours into it. I now have my expectations tethered to what it's meant to be like, and I was enjoying the 3 hours I played. It's just that I couldn't get out of my head the expectation I had, and that
yeah,
is my actual issue with a lot of like hyping of games and stuff. Is people hype them to be so like oh, and then I've started realizing I just don't care about hype for games. If there's a game that looks good after seeing a trailer, I'm not going to keep looking up all information about it. I'm just going to look for whenever they release a trailer, that says the release date, put it on my Steam
yeah.
wish list. When it comes out, I'll buy it. That's basically my response. Is
Well, I mean, I had a similar problem with the Metro games. When I first, so I mean, to explain it, I when I got Fallout 3,
Yeah.
because I had played the originals, and I had a freaking nightmare navigating in that game. And then I played Oblivion, and and I worked out how the navigation system worked with the compass. And so that was fine, and I had an issue with something else. And then I went back and played Fallout, and I was like, "Oh shit, the compass system is the same. I now know how to use this, so I can get through." And that became a great game. I love to play. And because of that, in the early days of the internet, I think it was Games Radar or something like that, and I was like, "Well, Metro is a Russian version of Fallout." So I was like, "Shit." And I
Yeah.
looked on the Xbox Live Marketplace, and the two Metro games are on there.
Yeah, it's not
So I bought.
Metro. The game that Metro is closest to is Bioshock, because a linear first-person
Yeah,
shooter with a really, and I will say
and
this, I love Metro, Metro Last Light, Metro Exodus. I love them. I also love the stories in them. Like the games have such great stories, and such
but
like
here's
it's
the thing:
such a great
because
world.
of my expectation of it being like Fallout, and it wasn't, I instantly hated it
Oh yeah,
for many years. And it was only that one day, I can't remember what it was. Is I wanted to buy a new game, and once again I was unemployed, and I was like, "Do you know what? I've wasted so much money on these games. I'm gonna at least play them to get a few achievement points, because at the time achievement points were the big thing you wanted to get on your Xbox Live
yeah,
account." Um, so I decided to at least get a couple of hundred things, and I played through them, and I loved them. But it was like it was that thing where I was like, this isn't what I was told it was, but there's nothing wrong with that. I just, if I hadn't been told it was meant to be like Fallout, Fallout 3,
yeah,
I wouldn't have cared. I would have enjoyed this game from the outset.
yeah. And that's the problem. That's it's like me with Atomic Heart. Me with all the stuff I was thinking about Atomic Heart was, oh, it's Fallout, but it isn't
Mm,
Fallout, and therein lies the problem with it.
exactly. And it was not even the problem. It's just because it subverts your expectation of what you're going to get
Yeah,
to a point where you're like, that's not the game I wanted to play right now.
it's let's be honest. It's like the whole Metro thing. Okay, Metro 2033, right?
Yeah,
Metro 2033. I love that game. Amazing game. Brilliant series. Brilliant franchise. Um, but it's not Metro. Sorry, Cyberpunk. I meant. Sorry, the Cyberpunk 2077. That game, right? Yes, when it came out was in a poor state. No one's going to disagree with that. Okay,
completely.
that game was hyped to shit. People, it's going to be the new
Yeah.
GTA kill. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. It's going to be the new like best game ever. And I'm like, it's not. Why the hell are you hyping it up to be so good? It's not going to be anywhere near what you're hyping it up to be.
I
And
mean, yeah, that is a big problem when these companies try and tell you. I mean, back in the day, you was always told this game is a CPU melter, visual
well,
card
no,
melter,
the thing is,
and
you
then you
watch
actually played it
Cyberpunk's
and it's like
trailers.
it wasn't.
None of Cyberpunk's trailers were saying it's the best game ever. Or it's going to be, change the industry. It was
Yeah,
people generating this fake hype, this hype that's going to change the industry. It was not the devs themselves. It was games journalists doing it, and then people latching onto it. And I'm like, it's not. It's a CD Projekt Red game. It's their first time making a first-person game rather than a third-person game in a different
yeah,
genre they're not experienced with. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be. It's not going to be like The Witch. It's because it was fresh off The Witcher 3. They were thinking, "Ah, it's Project Red. The Witcher 3 is amazing," and I'm like, "Yeah, Witcher 3 is good, but it wasn't amazing to me. Witcher 3 is just a Witcher 3. I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not. I'm not. I don't think it changed anything in gaming. Witcher 3 is just a really good game. It's really well done. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying The Witcher 3 is shit. I'm saying that The Witcher 3 was just not for me, and that's fine. That's fair. Not every game is for everyone. We all know this. That's my other
completely.
issue. It goes back to my first issue of like the thing that I will say with the thing about when I was just brought anti woke people going the games aren't made for me. These are the people that told people that these games are representing now. Some of these games that are showing up more as main characters, showing up as a bit more represented in some games and stuff as side characters and stuff, and and all that, right? Um, that they told the people that are now being more represented in gaming to, if you want those games, make them yourself. So people did, and now they're moaning because those people are making games that represent them. And I always find it funny because they told us to do
Yeah,
that, and now we're doing it. They don't like that we're now doing it because what it is they for some reason to them they think they have to buy everything and everything's made for them, and it's like when something isn't made for them, they throw a hissy fit, and it's like they're a game like I don't think anything bad of Black Myth Wukong or Stellar Blade really, or um, Crimson Desert, the newest sort of game that's like reminds me of that, where people have talked about it for a little bit and then it's just going to disappear like a month later. Like no one's really going to care.
yeah,
It's basically these are really big games that everyone jumps on and then they just disappear really quick.
yeah. I mean, for me, the Cyberpunk game, I've played it now. After it got better,
Yeah,
um, I've got to say, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy a lot of it, especially the early gameplay stuff.
I will
Um,
agree with you because I will
I
say,
I found it long and boring, and the reason I found it long and boring is because I had played Outer Worlds before it,
mm-hmm,
and Outer Worlds, in all honesty, gave me that kind of a universe, but better.
yeah, it doesn't help. Unfortunately, Cyberpunk 2077 is also kind of restrained by its source material, if you know what I mean, because it's based on a
Hmm.
popular tabletop RPG. It's has to conform and it can't mess with established stuff too much, right? Like it
Yeah,
didn't, and Cyberpunk 2077 loved it. I enjoyed that game a lot. I enjoyed my ending I got in that game. I've only played through it once, but that's the thing is I don't. It's telling for me how and so a game that is that's described as woke shit. It was a failure. It was a flop, a failure, and all this is Dragon Age Veilguard, for example.
yeah,
I played that game through once as a mage. Immediately started a second playthrough as a warrior. Played through it. Immediately started a third playthrough as a rogue. Finished it. I spent about 200 hours in that game. Like like three over 60 plus hour gameplay, including getting the hidden ending at the end on my last playthrough. Right? Yeah, that
yeah,
sets up like the potential Dragon Age sequel of that's been things that we've been seeing in the background in every Dragon Age game. Finally, maybe the um, basically about to become the big finally reveal themselves basically. Um, but I played that game through multiple times. I finished it 3 times, right at the minimum. I want to, and I'm tempted to go back and play through it again, right? Because it's just
mhm,
genuinely a fun game. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters. Because yes, as I think we've talked about before, I say that that game doesn't get good, like properly good. It gets fun, but it doesn't get, in my opinion, to Bioware level of good until after the end of the first act. Like the bit that I consider the end of the first act is Weishaupt, is the fortress siege of Weishaupt, and it's you start in like a little room, you fight off some the darkspawn, and then you go up onto the battlements of this place, like opening up the door onto the battlements, and you're seeing the bad guy is using a literal sandstorm to project their face. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like this is and it's like, oh, okay. Immediately I was like, oh shit, she's terrifying because no other villain has had that level of power. And that's like it's a set piece. The bad guy is just projecting like an image of herself on a sandstorm and like messing with the weather and sending the darkspawn at the Grey Wardens and everything, to destroy their fortress. And I'm like when I was thinking that I'm like when I watched that bit, it's like this is where the stakes feel like they're real. We understand that these gods aren't pissing about and aren't weak. These are quite literally we are fighting gods now. We are
yeah.
fighting
I mean,
to
a game that I thoroughly enjoyed that like the rest of the world apparently didn't, except for the people I was playing with, was Anthem.
I enjoyed
Uh,
Anthem.
The only reason that the only reason that the game really died out, the real reason that died out, is because they didn't do anything with the game.
I will also say I had it on an SSD, and the loading times were still ridiculous on an SSD. So it was also the fact that some of the loading time, some of the bits was that you went into you were in like one of the open area bits, and then you moved a little bit to this bit, and then you turned up another loading screen to like another open area section, and
Yes, that is true.
it's because, and I will say this, I think the other reason why is BioWare is known for the stories. We all know BioWare, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire. Like, they're known for the stories. We know BioWare as these guys make really great stories. These guys have always like their games are RPG story games where your choices tend to matter. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And Anthem wasn't that. It was them branching out. But I don't. I think a lot of the failings for Anthem, right? I think Anthem was probably meant to be a story-based game where you were in these jump jets and a lot more story. You could tell from like the little bits of cutscenes that you get before some of the missions that this was BioWare still trying to inject their story like telling stuff into the franchise, into it. But I think it's too much EA meddling and making it a live service game was what killed it, as well, because it was at the beginning of live service games when no one really wanted them. Like they were genuinely just it was we don't want this. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. It was when everyone was trying to move to a live service model when it wasn't appropriate.
It wasn't
But
appropriate.
yeah, it was,
It just
and
wasn't.
it's a shame because that now is that. I mean, like in the last week we talked about this other day. This month, or last month was its final death. Now it's completely gone. And it is such a shame because it was a very unique game in what it let you do. It was very much the game where you could be Iron Man
Yeah,
and you got to,
you could be high man in the
you know, you
Hulkbuster as well and just go and blast a whole bunch of shit.
exactly. I was always a Titan. I love my Titan. It was
See,
great. I mean, that was the
I
one I
liked my
worked
fast
with.
mech. I like because but that's the same in Warframe. I like mechs in Warframe with mobility. I like in mech games like I've been playing Demon X Machina 2, Titanic Scion, um, and Demon X Titanic Machina 1, and always build myself for I can't take a hit, but good luck trying to land a hit on me because I can dodge like a motherfucker. I always build myself to be like fast. I like speed. I like being able to dodge shit. It's fun to be able to dodge shit because that's just my play style. I'll hit you like
Yeah,
a truck,
but
but
like,
I can't take a hit.
especially when you had a full team of people playing, or even just two or three people playing, like all the suits were made right. People, like the other guys would stand behind me. I would run in, take all the hits, do a big blast out, and then I would be off in the air. And then while the enemies focused on me as I'm shooting off, they would start doing they're using all their speeds and their agilities and stuff to take the guy down. And it was perfect, in my opinion.
But yeah,
But yeah,
it is legitimately one of those things. But yeah, Anthem was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was basically Iron Man the game. I'm not gonna lie, it was a brilliant way of describing it actually. But in and this is why I'm fully in support of the Stop Killing Games movement because we don't want we literally all like it's like um someone don't know what the guy's name was, but kept trying to basically pose it who was apparently a game dev or somebody who's like anti it, constantly trying to decry it and anti it.
yeah.
Say it'll never work. It's shit but it's not.
Pirate software.
Is that it? We were like, but it's not. We wanted all games to forever that are like a live service that to always be live service. You have to keep the servers active forever, as you lose the money. No, it was just patch us an offline mode when you close the game down. That's all we ask.
Yeah.
Just an offline mode. Just give us an offline mode, even if it means that like that game that previously like didn't have as much on your hard drive because maybe a lot of the content was just streamed to the player when they did it, and instead it was just the engine and stuff that was on the game player's hard drive, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? even if you have to make the game bigger for it, just do it. It's like it's nothing. It's nice. Like Evolve again, a game I would love to be able to replay with a bunch of friends in peer-to-peer play with friends. That's an example of a game that died, in my opinion, when it shouldn't have. If it had come out, if Evolve had come out, right, I believe a year later, it would have done really well. Right? You know why I say that?
Very much so.
Because guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? If I remember correctly, what came out a year later?
What's that?
So Evolve came out February 10th, 2015. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
June 14th, 2016. Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
The game that basically popularized 4 versus 1 came out a year later, and that's what started the whole asymmetrical, multiplayer sort of craze for, one person versus a bunch of people in an asymmetrical game. Was Dead by Daylight. That came out, that got people in it. And Evolve came out the year before, and Evolve was that exact same concept. 4 hunters, one big monster that evolves as the match goes on and has to beat the hunters. And I feel like if Evolve had come out a year later, with the content that was originally going to be, released as later down the line as DLC of some extra hunters, 4 extra hunters, and 2 extra monsters, right? It would come with the base game, and it came out a year later. I reckon Evolve would probably be would have been popular at the time instead. You know what I mean? And would probably, right now, Dead by Daylight and Evolve would be the 2 biggest 4 versus 1 games. Or I, personally, because of Evolve's interactivity between both sides, in my honest opinion, I feel Evolve would have probably been might have been more popular, because how many giant monsters could Evolve have gotten like crossovers with to put in the game?
Mm-hmm.
For example, hi, he may not be as big as he is normally, but here's Godzilla.
That would have worked very well.
Take down Godzilla, or take down Clover from Cloverfield. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been really good. These giant monster stuff. And I'm like, this would have been a really cool thing. It would have done. I think it would have done better than it did. If it had come out a year later, and it's like most of the complaints people had was, "Oh my god, all this DLC." But I'm like, it's all cosmetic DLC that was that came, and I'm like, what do you expect the artists to do? Get fired? Like, I don't think the people that were complaining about the cosmetic DLC get it. Like, get it right, because when a game is being certified for consoles, right, or has been certified for consoles, the only thing that staff are allowed to do at that point is they can't add any content to the game. They can't add any new content that would change, like the code, like new maps, new stuff like that. They're not allowed to add that to like the existing game, because if they do, it has to go through certification again, and games, the console makers charge a fee for each, resubmission.
Yeah.
So that's,
they can only do fixes, hot fixes and stuff.
Yeah, for the day 1 patches. That's why we get day 1 patches, because of. If you wonder why we have day 1 patches for games, consoles are the reason. A game has to be certified for console. No, as in it's not the entire reason. It's the reason. It's the main. Yeah. It's the reason why a lot of these games that come out really well, like are really well developed, but have like 1 or 2 like minor bugs that have just been missed, that you could tell have only been missed like at last minute, right? Why they get day 1 patches, because those games are coming out on console. They're being certified for console. The console won't let them. If they add that fix to the game, they have to resend the certification, so they have to do it as day 1 patch instead. That's why a lot of those games get those day 1 patches that are like minor bug fixes. It's because those minor bugs are, unfortunately, there's stuff that unfortunately.
There are. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So things as well that are in effect is that when these companies say that a game's going to be released and they've got it all fully confirmed, kind of like you said, that to an extent they can do whatever they want to an extent, and in many cases it is just a case of pushing the button for fixes.
Yeah.
But a lot one of the things that they've been offering for a very long time, especially for digital release, is pre-ordering the game. But then what also started happening with discs, to make sure that they're in the shop ready to go, so you wouldn't have so for instance, a Call of Duty game, so you don't have a case of we've made 1 million but 2 million people now want to buy it, so we've got a shortfall, but we can only produce 1 million in the amount of time that we have to produce a disc. What they do is they turn these things into game keys, for want of a better term. So large, and so originally day one patches were to fix missed bugs, for better optimization once they realised what was going on mass.
Sometimes
and all those
in
sort of
some
things.
cases they are like on Steam. The day one patches generally, if you're able to pre-order a game and preload it, is to install the EXE, because that's the only thing missing from the game files.
Sometimes, yeah, but in these cases as well, so especially with, that's with digital for the most part. That's all that is. Even for much of the digital release games on Xbox or PlayStation, what your day one patch is basically you getting your full license to actually play it, the ability to actually turn it on.
Oh,
especially
Ryan,
if there
should we
is
address
a
the PlayStation
pre-download.
controversy that has happened?
Oh, we can do in just a sec. But the thing is, like I say, because of this idea of you don't own a game anymore, which is starting to become a thing, that you do just own the license of a game. You don't get a full history, or a full game on a disc anymore.
No.
And yeah, so those day one patches coming. The other thing is that, and what a lot of people forget, is they're still testing the game. People still get, although for the most part the public don't get the alpha version of a release just before it's released, or the beta version of a release just before it's released. There are still people playing it, and you get one of these people that get these games early is a YouTuber we've both talked about, which is Spliffing Brit. He actually, every so often, he gets the rights to show a game in its almost complete form a few days before it gets released. I've still got access to playing it, and people like him are there for one reason and one reason only: find exploits, find glitches. And he'll say, look, actually, I found a way of duplicating items here, but right, that's part of the day one patch and update. So especially when it comes to, like I said, go back into the disc thing again, because there's so little usually on a disc nowadays, or they'll max out, or even in the case where they do max out a disc, but actually they need 3 times the size. All of that stuff again gets put into a day one release, especially with disc operated games. So there's 100 reasons. I know with games like Elite Dangerous and stuff, when they were adding new content, that would be, we would usually get it for the most part on the same day, especially later on in its release life. They would schedule everything for the same time. But like hot fixes and stuff like that, yeah, they could do that on, they could do that, and you say, right, the game's going to be down for 24 hours, like for 5 hours from now, and we're going to fix this problem. It really comes down to what the agreements are with the platform that they're on, the rules of the said platform, and 100 different things can affect it. But it's not necessarily because everything needs to get pre-approved. Adding a new ship or a new gun to a gun game or a ship game, or a new. A great example of this is Fortnite. They're adding new stuff usually on a 3-day basis. If they had to get pre-approval for all of that, you wouldn't be getting it on a 3-day basis. There'd be like months and months wait.
Oh no!
So
It's more
there's swings
the
and roundabouts.
certification thing is genuinely, though, it is genuinely
It can be a problem.
It can be a problem, but it is generally only nowadays. I think it used to be for every patch you had to certify it. Now it is specifically only for, I believe, the initial game on the console. And the only thing they ask for the patch is, does the patch run on the console? Yes, cool. Then you can patch the game. We don't care.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, yeah, it
they've
has to
stepped
be.
back because they realised that it was stifling. It was stifling profit, in all honesty, because it was stopping them from getting getting people being able to play and buy more games for their consoles. Because as we both know, consoles are a loss leader. They're never sold at a profit. They're sold at a loss on purpose.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
Sony makes its money back on games. But so we discuss the Sony thing, because I want to discuss
Yes,
this.
why not?
The fact that Sony has decided now that if you buy a game on PlayStation Plus, and now this is, some people go, oh, it's a non-issue. Who's not going to have internet in this day and age? And I'm sat there going, yeah, it's not going to affect
Well,
everyone, but it's going to.
there is 100 reasons why your internet might go out.
There's also some people have metered internet connections, meaning they can't, have the internet on all the time. Oh yeah, but they can just turn it on for like a second within yeah, but what if they can't, because they can't afford to, because it's a metered connection, and it's or they have to go they can't afford to even do it, put anything on the internet for a while, you know what I mean, etc.
Oh well, a great example of this actually for me was with, I at one point in a place that I was living in, I had my main console upstairs, and then my office to do my creative things. When I was doing my 3D printing or my artworks, we turned the garage into an art studio. And the internet there was incredibly. In fact, we could only get the internet in one corner, and that's where we would usually have the PC and stuff for getting 3D print files or whatever we were doing over there. But the TV and the Xbox was, where we could fit the TV and the Xbox, and we had single player games you didn't need to go online with.
Yeah.
And we would download all the games. We would take it into the house, download all the games that we wanted, especially if there was a new one or we wanted to swap out the thingy, and then we'd take it into the garage, and then they'd play. Every so often, we'd have to move it to the corner because it would say, "Oh, you need to you need to set the codes, connect it to the internet for a second." But that's annoying. Like I say, it's annoying as shit, and sometimes you just can't do that.
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah. So Sony has decided to, because we forgot to mention what it is Sony has done that I think is a dumb idea, and they've kind of shot themselves in the foot with goodwill that they were getting from Xbox's mistakes. Let's be honest, that they've decided now that you buy a game off Sony, the license will check that you have internet connection, right, every day, and if you do not have the internet for more than 30 days, the game will not launch until you reconnect it to the internet. Meaning, cool, I have a game, and the worst part about this was the screenshot of someone showing this thing that has been added was of a single player game.
Yeah.
And it's only games you download after that date. Anything prior to the date that you downloaded isn't affected by this. Only new stuff.
What is really annoying is one of the reasons that PlayStation, I think it was the PlayStation 4, started to get real leeway over Xbox, was because Xbox had originally implemented an always-on system for the internet, and PlayStation turned around and went, "We'll never do that. We will never force you to have the internet on to play one of our games."
Yeah.
And that's how they actually got the mass market from it. That's how they become the industry leader in consoles when you don't consider Nintendo. But they actually technically got rid of that very early on, because you did then start needing the internet to play games, because once again, you buy a disc, especially if you're buying a disc, it didn't have the full game on it. You still needed to download something to get it to work. But now they're openly.
Or the disc, if for some games, I think it was the disc only had the single player campaign on it, and didn't have any like any other game modes and stuff in them.
Yeah, so what I need to PlayStation turn around and done really is they've gone back on a promise they made all that time ago, and something that they have kept every so often. They keep putting this out there. We never did the always online. Even after this announcement, we never did what Microsoft did. Microsoft removed that always online system almost immediately when they saw how bad that was going down.
Yeah,
But
Microsoft to
they
their credit,
still get it.
yeah, Microsoft to their credit removed it and went, okay, we understand, we're sorry. It's like,
Yeah.
as we mentioned earlier, the Game Pass thing, where they saw the backlash from the prices, and then they also were, and in trying to figure out, it's because I suppose part of the reason is because of the deals that they've had, because of Call of Duty is now on PlayStation, at the deals with making sure it's always on PlayStation, and it's on, but the other thing about it that as well is that they also saw the backlash of the price rise with people just like myself included. As you know, I cancelled my subscription that I've had for years because I was not going from paying 30 quid every 3 months to paying 90 sodding quid every three
Yeah.
months. Because yes, I can afford it, but currently I had it budgeted that every 3 months I will just have to pay an extra 30 quid out of what I budgeted. So I'd budgeted for that every 3 months. Cool. Now I've got 90 quid less every month, and it's might only be 60 quid difference, but that 60 quid difference will add up over time.
It's
Adds up,
true.
and it's like I'd rather not. So now they're putting the price back down, and the only thing that we're losing is Call of Duty, which for me is a non-issue. For you is a non-issue.
Same here.
For a majority of people, it's nowadays is a non-issue. And for those that actually care and play Call of Duty, they'll just buy it the next
Buy
week.
it anyway.
Buy it
Like
anyway.
they've always done.
Yeah.
But I think that is a good place for us
Yeah.
to say goodbye.
I will say goodbye. It is nearly 10 o'clock, which is what we end our stream on this. Yeah. Today it's just been mostly me ranting about games.
Yeah, we've had almost a good 2-hour run.
Yeah, we've just been ranting talking about various stuff about the games because, to be fair, we can't talk about the series we want to talk about because unfortunately, due to stuff I've been going through, stuff in life, I have unfortunately not watched Daredevil. I have missed it for a few weeks, so I need to catch up. And I've got a 3-day weekend this week, so I'll watch it after that. I'll watch it, but yeah, we'll be back hopefully in 2 weeks' time. We can't guarantee it, but that's our goal at the minute. To try and get the podcast back to 2 weekly. But yeah, I'm going to say au revoir. Jack, say goodbye, Jax.
Goodbye, Jax.
And also, to answer the question, gaming, is it woke? It's definitely woke, and that's a good thing.